Here's a quick video on how you can use the master calculator. First, check out everything on the front page. Oh, I need to change this. I know it's 25%, yeah, with the damage now. But just check out the front page. There's some important information. So, for example, AMC, GMC, EMC is the name for the travelers, and you have to enter it that way. Hu Tao's name, you have to remove the space, just because named ranges can have spaces in them. Zhongli A4, things like Zhongli A4, anything else that's like flat damage, or like I guess like talent value damage, like Zhongli's A4, are given separate attacks. This is also true for like weapon proc things. So that's things like Cinnabar Spindle. Although that's not handled as a character attack. That's handled as a weapon attack, and I will show y'all how to do that. And then Raiden's resolve stacks. And thank you to these people. SRLs onto Art, NFX, 310, and Citri, more people, not mentioning everyone. But of course, yeah, thank you to everyone. Does OBS capture chat? Yes. So YouTube frogs are going to see this. I don't know if I'm uploading this to YouTube yet, but whatever. We'll see. No. What if I do this? Ooh, didn't mean to do that. Let me set these all back. Yeah, I was just testing, like, maybe attack is actually better than ER Sans. Yeah, I guess it is. So, anyways, how the calculator works. So, I mean, this does raise our DPS to 59k. How the calculator works is you have 4 character pages. And each character page, you have a bunch of settings that you can adjust. So you have, like, for example, the character's level. Raiden is at 80 out of 90. She's at talent level 199. You can adjust their element types. So, for example, normal attack element for Raiden is Electro. Charge attack is Electro. Punch attack is Electro. Skill Echo, Burst Echo are all Electro damage. Skill Echo and Burst Echo are things, for example, like Razor, because I mean I have Razor up right now. I think catch it please work. I don't have Razor up, but basically Razor's burst does both Electro and physical damage, because his swings do physical damage, but his wolf does Electro damage. So that is a burst echo. And then you have Kazuha, and Kazuha, for example, has a skill echo, because yeah, this thing. If Chi Hayaku comes into contact with these things, it will absorb and then deal an additional element in addition to his skill damage. And it's considered punching attack. But, like, I mean, this is considered punching attack, so I guess it's not, like, it wouldn't be considered skill echo. But there are, I think there's actually a better example. Where is he? AMC, yeah. Animo MC has a Holy, and the Holy can absorb an element, and that would be considered skill echo damage. So, anyways, that's what this looks like. That's what the skill echo and this burst echo is for. Burst echo is mostly for Razor plus Animo units, because a lot of the Animo units like Sucrose, Venti, and Kazuha can absorb an element. Skill echo is, I think, mostly just AMC right now, but like it's still useful to have. So, weapons. Weapon info, you can just toggle whatever weapon you want. I have a list of literally every single weapon that's in the game. And you can, like, do some weird stuff. Like, you can throw, I don't know, Ame no Kageuchi on Raiden if you want to. But, yeah. So, that's what this weapon selection is. It's pretty simple. You have weapon refinement. Stacks is for weapons that have stacking effects. So, that's things like Jade Spear. Which has a stacking effect, or Summit Shaper, or just any weapon which has a stacking effect. Then you have toggles. So that's, for example, the Bane of X weapon things. So that's things like Dragon's Bane or Rain Slasher, and they have a passive which sometimes triggers based on if the enemy you're hitting has a specific aura. And that's what the toggle is for. So you can toggle that effect on or off, because it's not always going to be on, it's not always going to be off. Which is, that's pretty self-explanatory for all the weapon stuff. Then you have artifact sets. You just pick an artifact set, how many stacks it has. Because things like Crimson Witch, which has 3 stacks. You also have Blizzard Strayer, technically, which has 2 stacks. You can have either no stacks or 1 stack, which is your hitting an enemy, which is cryoed, or you have 2 stacks, which is your hitting an enemy, which is frozen. Then, so that's like Blizzard Strayer's 2 stacks. There are other artifact sets which have like number of stacks, but yeah, we can deal with those later. Or I mean, like you can just look through the sheet yourself and check if like changing stacks affects something. Then you have toggle. That's things for like Lava Walker, Thunder Suitor. Those are conditional because you're not always going to be hitting an enemy which has pyro on them. You're not always going to be hitting an enemy which is affected by electro. And that's what this artifact toggle thing is. It just toggles the effect of certain artifacts. Then you have your artifact stats. Like you can pick the flower level, flower rarity. I've implemented every single rarity. And it's also like if you have a specific like rarity on your flower, then you have to have it at level 4. If you have like 4-star, then you go up to level 16. If you have 5-star, you go up to level 20. That's just all handled in data validation. Then you can pick your sands, goblet, circlet. You can pick both their rarity, their level, and their stat. So for circlet, you can like have this possible list of stats. For goblets, you have more stats because you have like all the different elemental damage types. For sands, you also have like you just have this list of stats. You can also have ER, which you can't have on goblin circlet. So you can see there is no ER in this list. Buffs should be for global buffs that will always be applied to your character. So for example, Pyro Resonance. Pyro Resonance is just always going to be applied to your character no matter what. If you have 2 pyros in the team, it's not like it's not a buff where it's only going to be up for a certain amount of time. Like it's only going to be up after you cast a burst for like No Blessing, for example, or it's not only going to be up for like 8-10 seconds, like the Viridescent Venator or Kazuha buffs or whatever like that. Things like that, if they're only going to be up for a certain amount of time and they're not going to be up for every single move that your character is performing or every single attack that your character is performing, then you should input that as a conditional buff in the rotation assembler. And I'll show you all how to do that in a bit. Then optimization settings, you have your number of substats, so that's just the total number of substats that you can have. This integer subs thing is a work in progress, you can ignore for now. Sub values, that's just what sub values you're using. Like how, like, is the attack percent like 5%? Is it 5.5%? Is it 4.5%? Whatever. You can use either perfect substats, which is like the highest possible roll for every single substat, and then as you can see, that brings your damage up. You can use average, which is about the same as KQMC, I think. Well, I think I haven't implemented average yet, which is why the damage is lower. But you can either have perfect or you can have KQMC. I'll put the average in at some point. I think it's just at 0 for everything now for average, which is not what's supposed to happen. Then you need the ER requirement. ER requirement is basically just how much ER this character needs. The solver will automatically distribute subs such that you have enough ER, or the ER is greater than this ER requirement. Flat subs for stat, that's just how many flat subs you want distributed, how many like liquid subs, I guess. You can do 2 flat subs. You can also do like 1 if you want. And then if I optimize this, you'll see my damage goes up because I don't need to have as many flats. Then I can distribute more into crit rate and crit damage. Oh, it went down. Why did it go down? Why does it want so much ER? I know why. It's because I need that. Yeah. But anyways, you can just adjust your flat subs that way. Then you have crit rate, crit damage cap. That's just a crit rate, crit damage EM cap. So pretty self-explanatory. You can't have more than this much crit rate, more than this much crit damage, more than this much ER. Oh, that refine it up. Then you have basically your final stats are over here. you can just look at like how much of each thing do you have. This does not account for conditional buffs. So for example, if you had a Kazuha buff that's going to buff some of your damage by 35% and you input that in the rotation somewhere, it's not going to be accounted for here, because this is only final character buff stuff. Bennett, I mean, like, that's just third character. You have noblesse, stacks. If you have like an artifact set which doesn't have stacks, then like it doesn't matter what you put here. It's not going to account for it. It's not going to do anything. Same with like alley flash. Like I could put that and it wouldn't do anything. But alley flash does have a toggle effect. So if I toggle it off, then damage goes lower. And yeah, Xingqiu have the Lion's Roar, R1, stacks, like it can be 0 or 1, it doesn't matter, toggle on, Envelope Severed Fate, 0 stacks because it doesn't matter, toggle doesn't matter either. Then you have conditional buffs. I have Hydro damage because Xingqiu's A4 gives him 20% Hydro damage, burst damage because Ryan's E is always going to be up, and attack because the duration of Xingqiu's Q and his range source is pretty much almost constantly going to be in for noblesse. Although if I want to be more accurate, I could do like 25 and then just exclude the range swords which aren't in for noblesse. Then I have his ER requirements, sub values, number of subs. Now you can have EM cap, whatever, all that. Rotation assembler. This is where most of the work is going to go in for you. You basically just put together the rotation here. So for each, I can just put together a new attack just to show how it works. I only have a certain number of rows here because I don't want to have like infinite rows because then that's going to lag the sheet way too much. But whenever you need more rows, you can just highlight the column to the rightmost column, drag to the right, just like select right, and then you can just press Control R. Control R is just going to fill columns based on what's there. Or if you want to do it with mouse, you can just do this, highlight from here to here, and just drag. Although I don't have characters there, which is a problem. But anyways, so let's put together an attack. Let's delete this. So we have Bennett. Then we have to select a character first. It can be any of these. Let's select Xiangling instead. Then we can select, let's calculate a Pyronado. So it will automatically go to burst damage type. It will automatically use attack scaling. This is just like for characters which don't scale off attack and scale off HP instead. That's what the scaling stats for. So for example, if I put like Albedo here, I mean, this will break a lot of stuff, but I'm just going to do this for example. And then, where is it? Transient Blossom. So as you can see, it goes to depth scaling. Then you can select the amping reaction. None. It will automatically retrieve the talent level from your character page. As you can see, Albedo has talent level 12 here on his skill, and it's talent level 12. Now I change this to like 10, then it will automatically also change in the rotation assembler. Then you have, okay, I'm going to explain that stuff later. But then you have the conditional buffs plus the base stats that you might want to look at. So this is what you mostly want to have open, this conditional buffs per attack thing, which you can open by just clicking on the second plus thing. And these are for like if you have a buff that only lasts for a certain amount of time and you want to buff this specific attack by something. So let's say I want this specific attack to have negative 500% Geo-Res shred, or 500% Geo-Res shred. It should be negative 500. Then I would put 500% here, and then now I have 500% Geo-Res shred on this attack. Or maybe let's say like 1 million. And then now I have 1 million Geo-Res shred on this specific attack. Although, as you can see, this number isn't changing, and that's because the skill right now, the skill right now is Pyro still. If I change this to Geo, then this should affect it. Where is it? No, wait. That's not Albedo. This is Albedo. There we go, Geo. Now, as you can see, the number is much, much bigger. So go back to 10, and this go back to Pyro. But anyways, so you can just adjust conditional buffs in this place. Then quick daily stream. Yes, this is definitely a quick daily stream. Well, if the character is affected by cryo but not frozen, does the artifact set have that feature? Yes, because Blizzard Destroyer has 0 stacks, 1 stack, and 2 stack. 0 stack is affected by nothing, or affected by something that is not cryo. 1 stack is affected by cryo but not frozen. 2 stack is frozen. And you can adjust that. Sorry, I haven't been really reading chat, but yes. Let me look. Did I do all of this myself? Yeah. How is defense calculated on mobs? How much effective % damage increase do you get from res shreds? I will 60 defense increase your damage. No, defense and resistance both affect things differently. Defense affects the defense multiplier, and resistance affects the resistance multiplier. You can read about both of those in Theory Crafting Library. It's in the damage formula section. I think it's like, yeah. You can just check out this this link. I'll paste it in the chat. Give me a sec. Anyways, so then you can just have these conditional buffs, and then you can click this third plus sign to open up this entire thing, which will tell you like what these stats are after the conditional buffs and after the global buffs. So let's change this around over back to Xiangling. And this goes to Xiangling and Pyro NATO damage. So, as you can see, we have 180, more than 180 ER. It doesn't calculate decimal subs, so it has to have them at specific intervals, which means that you're never going to hit like the ER requirements exactly. But more than 180% ER. We have the Bennett buff that we have on Xiangling because Xiangling snapshots, so you can put Bennett as a global buff insofar as every single thing that you do on Xiangling you cast within Bennett's buff, because sometimes you cast like one global outside of Bennett's buff, in which case you would have to have Bennett's buff be a conditional effect. But you see we have that, we have Pyro damage bonus, this is from the Cup, plus Crimson Witch. You have burst damage, this is from the catch. Catch and whatever else gives you burst damage. Oh, Ryan Z. Melt and Vaporize, these are both from Crimson Witch set effect. Overload, this is from Crimson Witch. Then you have burst crit rate, which is from the catch. You don't have to input anything for like anything that gives you crit rate on X. So Festering Desire, the catch, these are automatically handled. You will have burst crit rate / skill crit rate automatically handled. And then the base res, enemies have a base res of 10%, or typical enemies have a base res of 10%. That's what we'll assume in these calculations. And then you can look to effective resistances. This is probably something that people are going to be interested in, because previously in my sheets, what you had to do was you had to toggle, you had to have the effect yourself. So for example, FOEVV shredded Pyro, then you would have to put negative 15%, because that's 10 minus 40 is negative 30, then you have to have that. But in this new sheet, you can just put in negative 30%, and it will automatically have it for you. So as you can see, effective Pyro resistance at negative 15%. And then you can look at the stats for calcing, and then this is just basically like all the numbers that I use to calculate this big number. I have the resistance by attack, the damage % by attack, weapon proc calcs, etc. Let's adjust this back to 10%. So there are some specific things that you will need to use. This, like what I've just told you so far, is what you'll typically need to use for like a typical attack or a typical calculation. And then you would just have to get every single attack that occurs within a rotation, put it all together in order to get team damage. But there are some specific things that you might want to do. So for example, let's say Xiangling is, instead of using the catch, she's using Dragon Spine Spear. I don't know why you would do that, but let's say she is. So now let's say you want Dragon Spine Spear's weapon proc. So you would select weapon proc out of the list of attacks. Then you would have to open up this second plus sign. And then you can select a weapon proc. So you can have Frost Burial, no cryo. Or Frost Burial with cryo. And that's because the Dragon Spine series of weapons differs in its proc damage based on if the enemy is affected by cryo or not. And yeah, let's see. I'm just looking at chat real quick. What build we suggest for Eula? How you work your rate for consistency? I would suggest just go for consistency, but I'm also lazy. Currently mid. Yeah. Anyways, so you can select these weapon procs. You also have some specific weapons, like Everlasting Moongo. So this is one case where your ability to put literally any weapon on a character is pretty useful. So let's say Xiangling is using Everlasting Moongo. Then its proc is called Byakuya Kogetsu. And it will adjust to your normal attack element. So because Xiangling's normal attack is Fizz right now, Byakuya Everlasting Moongo's proc is currently set as Fizz damage. But let's say it's Pyro instead. Then it will go to Pyro. But basically, like, some weapons, they don't have like physical procs, but they have things which are basically pseudo weapon procs, pseudo Fizz procs, where they will add flat damage, kind of like Zhongli's A4. So this is like the first weapon that we've had so far that does this is Everlasting Moonglue. We also have Cinnabar Spindle, and in the future we'll have probably more weapons which do this. Can't say which ones, but we'll probably have more weapons which do this in the future. But basically, you can also have these weapon procs selected. And if you want to do, for example, a Kokomi N1 with Everlasting Moonglue, then what you'll have to do is you will have to Kokomi. Well, I don't have the data validation for that because I can only enter characters in this box that are in one of these 4 character pages. But if I had Kokomi here, then I would have to have 2 attacks. I would have to have one which is an N1. And I would have to have one which is the Byakuya Kogetsu weapon proc in order to account for both her N1 damage and her weapon proc damage. And speaking of Kokomi, you also need to add in an additional flat damage thing. So, like, I'm just going to change this to Kokomi to make it easier. So, let's say we have Kokomi, Control R. So if we want to do an N1 with her burst up, we have to do the 1-hit damage, then we have to do the weapon proc, but we also have to do her normal attack damage bonus from her burst, because her burst gives her flat damage kind of like Zhongli's A4. So we add in this 1-hit damage, we add the weapon proc, then we add normal attack damage from burst, and this all together, all these 3 damage numbers together, is what she does on an N1. You can't handle these all together. They have to be handled separately just because of how they scale off different things. As you can see, this one scales off of attack, this one scales off of HP, this one scales off of HP, and they all have to be handled separately. You can't handle them together. So characters like Kokomi, you just have to put a lot of columns because you're going to need a lot of attacks. So let's see, what else? You also can adjust occurrences. So let's say like we want Kokomi to do like 10,000 N1s. Then we can just do this, 10,000 N1s. And I think the last cell that I have to explain here is manual override. Oh no, I still have to explain healing. I'll explain manual override first. So let's say for some reason you want a hit to deal a different amount of damage than was calculated. This can be useful like if you're doing specific buffs, or if you're testing specific things out, or you want to like lock in values, but you want to change, like you want to lock in a specific value. So let's say for example you're calculating Xiangling, and you want to just be lazy, and you want to have Bennett's buff up throughout the whole thing, even though sometimes Bennett's buff won't be up, because you're going to cast one Guoba, not in Bennett's buff. So you can actually do that, and what you do is you have Bennett's buff up, you take Bennett's buff down, so you set at 0, and then you add in global damage. So let's copy this over, and then you put this value in manual override. Then you put Bennett's buff back up, so it equals 1, 2 times character card 3 base attack plus card 3 weapon base attack. And then, as you can see, or did I do this right? Oh, it's because I still am on everlasting moon glow for some reason. I can just type the catch. As you can see, like, this damage stays constant. So even though Globa damage, thank you. Even though, like, right now, with the Bennett attack buff, Globa should be dealing 6,413 damage. Since you have this locked-in value without Bennett's attack buff, the final damage is set at whatever you have here. So if I set this at 1, the final damage would be 1. Basically, just allows you to, like, handle conditional buffs without needing to open the conditional buffs panel if you are lazy, or if there's only like one conditional buff, then you can just lock in specific values. Way too dank, yes. If anyone here like has any questions about this later, like, you can just DM me or something. Let me remove this real quick. Alt A, V, erase current settings, clear all. There we go. I should have removed it. Why did it not? There we go. Anyways, so now let's talk about healing. Healing is basically characters which heal. So let's select Bennett. You can select a burst regeneration. So Bennett's burst regenerates HP for you. It has both a flat and a percentage regeneration. So select this. So what you need to do for anything that has both a flat and percentage generation is you need to select both of these because they are handled differently in the formula. So let's say this is one healing tick for Bennett. So then what happens is we have one tick, but regenerates both a percentage of your HP and a flat amount of HP. The percentage of your HP is based on the active character, so we have to select a character. Let's say he's healing Raiden. So his healing move true, this is percentage flat type, then it will tell you how much Raiden is being healed. So per tick, you're healing this much. Plus this, yeah. Healing isn't really that important for anything except if you're doing Ocean Hued Clam calcs. And yeah, I will handle that at some point. Ocean Hued Clam is currently not yet implemented in my sheet. Or it is implemented, it's just it's a bit manual. But anyways, that's basically how the rotation assembler works. There are some specific things that I think need to be talked about besides that. Let me think. I think I handled how Raiden works in the front page. Oh yeah, solver. This is kind of jumping back to the substat distribution thing. Sorry for that. But basically, you also want your subsets to be distributed optimally, right? So what you need to do is you need to first install the solver add-on, which you can go to in File, Options, Add-ins, Manage Excel add-ins, go solver add-in, just click this and then OK. And then you'll have this in the data tab, this solver thing, once you install that. For every single character, you want to just hit solver. All these constraints should already be set. You don't have to change any of these. And just hit solve. And then it will optimally distribute the subsets. So you want to do that for every character. Yeah, I think that's it that needs to be talked about. If you want to see the numbers, just to verify that things are working correctly, all the calculations that go into these, you can look at this calculations page. It will tell you like how much attack you're getting from archive main stats. Flowers have 311 attack, so it will give you 311. see. Where does it get this calculator? Not publicly released, but basically just DM me if you want it. Oh, move to the right. Yeah, I don't want to move that entire thing to the right, just this. How do I move only chat to the right? Chat box. There we go. Let's move this over here. And then this. Why is this gray box? Whatever. I'll just leave chat box here. I'm too confused. Are all of these advanced functions available on Google Drive, Excel because you don't pay for Microsoft Office? Most of these functions are available. The issue is that I've tried uploading my sheet to Google Sheets before. These dropdowns don't work because let me show you what's up with that. This is the data validation formula that I have. It's pretty long, as you can see, and this formula just doesn't work in Microsoft Office for some reason. But yeah, for some this list of stuff is what's in the dropdown, and for some reason it just doesn't work in Google Sheets, which is very sad. I've tried. I can try seeing if there's any way to fix that. Maybe with excessive use of index match it'd be possible. But right now, the sheet is currently not available on Google Sheets, although that's my next major project to try and transition this all to Sheets. Because I know a lot of people don't have Office 365. But yeah, you can check anything that you want to in here. You can check the reaction multiplier, weapon-based attack, character-based attack, base HP. You can check the stats that you're getting on your artifacts. Let's see, anything else? You look at this big table of final stats. Yeah, that's basically it for how this rotation calculator works, or I guess just this entire calculator works. I'm not sure why there's an occurrences row here. Titles here. AOE modifier. Oh yeah. This has not been implemented yet, but AOE modifier will be implemented in a future sheet. So I could just delete that probably. Anyways, if anyone has any questions, feel free to DM me. This might be uploaded to YouTube, but I'll probably have it either unlisted or even if it is public, my YouTube does not get that much attention. So I'm expecting there not to be too many views on it. But if anyone wants to re-see how this entire thing works, just watch that video or just ask me questions through Discord DMs. Yeah. Let me